Hello, everyone. My name is Andy Cormier. I'm the Partner Development Director at Syncro and author of So You Want to Be an MSP. Today, we're going to talk about the wiser choice. Well, you'll hear from MSPs that have made the switch from ConnectWise over to Syncro. One of the most pivotal decisions you can make as an MSP are the tools you will put into place to run and grow your business, none being more important than your RMM and your PSA. These two fundamental tools are the foundation for everything you build next. Now, the vast majority of us are tech people by trade, so logic would dictate you go and grab the biggest, baddest platform out there. The more power, the better, right? Well, that's one of the things that we're going to talk about today, and I like to call that achievable power. And here's what I mean by that. If a platform can successfully run an MSP with hundreds and hundreds of technicians, the level of power required to do so competently is absolutely enormous. So the question becomes, is that level of power actually attainable for my specific MSP? So today we brought on two MSP veterans who have made the transition from ConnectWise to Syncro. And we're going to dive into what led them to making that decision, how they've fared since completing a successful migration off of ConnectWise, and any advice they might have for other MSPs finding themselves in a similar position. Now, before I introduce our attendees, there's two things I wanted to mention here up front. First, we'll absolutely be doing Q&A for those in attendance toward the back half of the webinar, and you can submit your questions using the Q&A right inside of Zoom. You don't have to wait until the end. You can start queuing them up right now if you wanted to. And second, we're going to be offering a very special Syncro promotion for those in attendance today, and I'll have some more details on that toward the end of the webinar. All right, so joining me today, we have Christopher Fischer, IT Manager at DLL Techs, and Michael Paranich, Director of Operations at August eTech. Why don't we start with y'all telling our audience a bit about your MSP along with your background in general. And Christopher, you want to start us off?
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Andy. My name is Christopher Fischer with DLL Techs. DLL Techs has been in business for going on 19 years now in Southern California. We kind of focus on the smaller end of the SMB market. Our clients tend to range in the 5 to 50 endpoint range. No particular verticals, but we service just about everybody. We transitioned from your break-fix shop into that MSP market probably about 10 years ago. I've been with the company for the last 10.
Great. And Michael?
How you doing? So I'm with August eTech. We've been in business since 2001. We have customers small to medium to large size, ranging from, say, 4 to 300 end users. And we're over here in central New Jersey. One of the niches we work in is biopharma. We do a fair amount of work with medical compliance and work with everything from small to large customers in all of their needs, working with every department they have, including HIPAA and FDA.
Well, thanks for both for the introductions. And I know, Michael, I need to still get with you offline and dork out about the biopharma stuff because it's just it's a cool vertical that we were never involved in my MSP, and I would definitely like to hear more about that.
Absolutely.
So let's both talk about the MSP space as a whole for a minute. There's obviously a lot of options out there, and you know, in one way or another, everybody's proclaiming to be the next panacea for your business. What was it specifically or initially about ConnectWise that attracted you to them, particularly when there's all these other choices available to you? Christopher, you want to start first?
Okay. I think at the time when we were looking at ConnectWise, I was with Autotask at the time, and yeah, it was a good platform, and it seemed a little dated to us, and there were some little issues that we were having. So we're just looking, always trying to find, again, what's that next best thing that's going to help us grow, help provide a better service for our clients. And one of my techs was doing a demo with ConnectWise, and we were looking at it, and the platform looked fabulous. I mean, I saw all these great tools, they were showing all these great things, and so like, hey, I mean, that's going to be our next step. I think I liked the interface. It looked a little bit more modern than what we were using. And that's what kind of initially kind of grabbed me towards going to ConnectWise.
Okay. And Michael, what first attracted you to ConnectWise?
So back then, and we were with ConnectWise for at least, I'd say 6-7 years. Back then, you really only had 2 large players, and we were looking for an all-inclusive. So we actually used their chat function as well as their ticketing function, as well as all of their RMM tools. So for us, it was about communication, having everything kind of in one package. And at the time, they were the only ones that really had everything built into one.
So it's fair to say it was really like the entire ecosystem was what y'all were after.
Yeah.
100%. We wanted everything to be in under one umbrella, one place to manage everything, one place to control all the licensing. We wanted everything to interact with each other. And at the time, ConnectWise was the best option.
Gotcha. All right. And Christopher, I'm going to ask you this one specifically. Tell me a little bit about your buying experience. What did you feel good about, and what did you feel that might have been lacking during that initial sales process with ConnectWise?
I guess this should have been my first. This is where I kind of had a first struggle, and not to knock down, but just initially they wanted a 5-year commitment, and I know that's kind of the next kind of question you're going into, but that was, I was like, no, a lot can happen in 5 years. I don't know, and we were promised that you're going to be saving money, you're going to want to be with us forever, and so that was that's what kind of was my initial get into it, and then and the deployment of it, we I think we paid $5K for implementation for 5 technicians for my team, and I kind of struggled, but again, we were promised this great tool, everything's going to be there for us. You're going to as close to single pane of glass as you're going to get. So that was our first introduction to it, the sales process. It was I think I was handed off to 3 different people during that process, and so it was a little bit of a struggle.
And I see you smiling, Michael. So go. I'll just let you take it. Go ahead,
Chris. I apologize. I'm only laughing because you don't realize how much pain you're having, with everyone, in common with everyone else until you have one of these little groups. So we did not have a 5-year. I will tell you that for us, I believe they were only pushing 3 years at the time when we were doing it. The onboarding ended up being sloppy. Unlike the demo, the onboarding was definitely difficult. We certainly found that a lot of the work had to be done by ourselves. Like you were saying with the turnover, I will tell you historically with ConnectWise, we've had nothing but turnover at every level, whether it be account, whether it be accounting, whether it be accounts payable. A tremendous amount of turnover over there. In the last 3 years, I've had 7 different account reps. I never even know if anyone's following up with any of the problems that I had. But again, very, very similar experience to what you had, minimal guidance, and most of the work we had to do ourselves. Obviously, the demo was created to make it look a little bit easier than it actually was.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to that real quick, it's like, that was my problem, is that fabulous thing that I saw, I never got there. And that was just like, hey, this is not right. It's not the same.
Well, Christopher, so now I'm curious. I think I am going to ask that question. So they tried to get you for 5 years, it sounds like, initially. I've only ever heard of the 3. So that's the first time I heard that. So that's a lot. What did you wind up doing? Did you have to kind of like negotiate that down, or how did that process work?
Yeah, so there's like 5 years, you're going to save money. You're not going to want to switch platforms. And my mind is like, I don't want to do anything for 5 years. We finally got it down to 3, 3 year, it's like, so I don't know if they were just trying to try something out on us. I don't know, but so 3-year commitment. Again, the sales side of our implementation was never set up. We learned that ourselves and basically put that in play. It just, again, like Michael was saying, that demo that was put out there, and even spending, $5K in deployment for 4 users, I never felt like we ever got rolled out correctly. All the tools that were supposed to help migrate and bring us, everything smoothly over, it was rough. It was a rough transition.
All right. And Michael, did you go with 3 years, or did you negotiate that down?
No, I believe we went 3. We were consistently on kind of a 3-year rotation.
Okay. And I'm going to ask you guys a follow-up, because both of you guys said something to the line of, it didn't necessarily wind up being what was demoed. Was the demo selective, or was it that you felt afterward you may have not asked the right questions, or what was it that made it feel like this looks really good, and then you got on and it felt different? Like, what portion of it didn't come out to be what you expected?
I can tell you that having worked with ConnectWise for years, not just the demos, the videos, everything that they post up is already, let's say, well tuned. And because of the system, because of the size of the system and what you get when you get a system like that, a lot of it, because it can be individualized so much, they sort of leave you to set it up the way you want it to be. Unfortunately, they don't really show you the bare bones, and your expectations are a little higher. You kind of think out of the box, I'm going to be able to at least use it, and then over time I can fine tune things. You don't realize how bare bones actually is.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, it's fun. Oh, go ahead, Christopher. I'm sorry.
no, I was gonna say it's very granular. I mean, there's a lot you can do with it. I mean, again, it's a powerful tool, but to get to that fine-tuned demo display, it's a lot, and I don't think I ever got there. And again, it could have been I may not have asked the right questions because I expected it to be what I saw, not I had to build it and tune it to get to what I saw.
Okay.
Chris, if I could just real quick on that, an argument I had with them many times over was I have a full-time job. ConnectWise was not supposed to be a full-time job. And again, to Chris's point, yes, it's a fantastic system if you have a person dedicated to really spending the time to watching it, tweaking it, changing it. But that's an additional cost that most companies our sizes are not really interested in taking on. So then what you end up with is spending a lot less time on it than what is needed to get it running where you want it to be. Or, as I said, you have somebody who has more or less has a part-time job's worth of work just to maintain a system that is really not, probably should never be marketed our sizes.
Yeah, that's interesting. Did you find that too, Christopher, that you needed to almost have someone dedicating part of their time to like maintaining the system where it's like, hey, we want to try this new flow, and it's like, uh-oh, we need to figure out how that's going to work and who's going to be assigned to that and that kind of thing?
Yeah, and for a team of like myself, I mean, at our largest, we were 10. The DLLs, so we average, around 5 to 7 employees. So you can imagine that having this tool and now even just managing alerts, notifications,
Mhm.
the fatigue from that in the mornings of seeing this, okay, just 300 alerts and trying to decide whether they're actual actionable alerts or they just and then tweaking it a little bit more to see if I can get those to just not be alerts. It was challenging. That I couldn't, and we had to basically, we took turns. Hey, I can't do this today, so we just kind of swapped between our organization who was going to be on one portion of it, and trying to, and we just can, I guess at the a midway point, we were just okay accepting how it was, and when it got better, but we just didn't have the time or the energy to get it to be right. And when we asked for help, it just wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
Michael, did he run into similar experiences with like the support aspect of it or the I need help with this flow?
Well, again, I hate to jump ahead because I know where we're going with I don't want to jump too far ahead, but
That's okay.
it's exactly the problem, and that's exactly what started kind of this path that led us to Syncro, right? Um, I specifically the story that resonates the most with, especially with ConnectWise, was it became my responsibility to tweak a lot of ConnectWise to try to make it more usable. And I was reading through their knowledge database. I found a page that I thought looked like something we really wanted to use. I set 95% of it up and then realized something doesn't look right. Don't hit the start button. Whatever you do, don't hit the go. Don't go. And I stopped and I called them and I explained to them what I found and I told them what was wrong with their instructions and I told them why it didn't look right. And after a conversation with they finally got a second level tech, which took forever. After a conversation with a second level tech, they asked if they could remote to my computer so I could show them. We went through all the steps. I showed them all the steps. We got to the final and he said, no, that looks good. And he went ahead and started it. 1/3 of my agents uninstalled themselves in a matter of under an hour. All of a sudden, all my endpoints just started disappearing. I called them, but of course, they don't answer the phones. You have to leave messages. I emailed my account rep, their billing, the tech, everybody on a giant CC explaining that my agents are uninstalling and somebody needs to stop the hemorrhaging. I finally get a call back from the tech saying, "Oh, I found it and I stopped it, but they're gone." I said, "What do you mean they're gone? Like, how do we reinstall?" And again, short version is I took this as high as humanly possible, rattled every chain, shook every tree to point out that you're marketing this to an IT company and an IT person said to you this wasn't going to work, but your but your technician wanted to see what would happen when he pressed the button. And it just caused such a pain point that it was at that point, that was really the final straw with their support. And the communication, the level of communication was too low. There wasn't that trust when they trusted me as a customer to come to them with an actual problem. It's like they sort of ignore what you tell them because, well, it's not in their knowledge database.
Yeah, so I think you answered the next question I had. But
Sorry
I'm gonna,
about that.
No, that's okay, because I think that's great. Christopher, I'm going to ask it to you because I really wanted to know, like, what was going through your head, or like what led up to that moment where you just said, you know what, like enough is enough, or we just need to move on. We're growing out of it, whatever it is, where you like, what's that key event where you said, we need to look at shifting platforms?
I didn't have fortunately, I didn't have an experience like Michael had where, our agents got uninstalled, but mine was more on the billing side. We started noticing that our bill was going up and up, and we were being overbilled for endpoints and devices on the platform. And again, oh, we're going to get it corrected. You're going to get a credit, and then it kept going, and it built up. Then we'd get a call like your payment is you're overdue on your. It's like the left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing. They're telling us, oh yeah, we're going to take care of it, but then billing is still sending us a bill and saying that we're not up to date. So we almost just stopped paying for a minute, saying, hey, look, you need to get this corrected, and then we'll get back on track. And another thing, kind of backing up a little bit, that kind of struck me as odd is that, shortly after we deployed, I started getting sales calls from ConnectWise, emails, our new product, or command. Okay, so I'm on manage and control and using those products. So what's this command we're talking about? Oh, it's going to be our new product. Well, I just rolled out. Why wasn't I? If this was where you're headed to in the future, this is going to be the big thing that you're going to be investing in. Why am I not on it now? Why was I not told about this? I want to be on the next gen stuff, not last. And so it almost made me feel like, if this is where your focus is at, then maybe this is why I'm not getting the support on the product that I'm on. I don't know. I'm not ConnectWise, but that led me to question. I was like, where is your focus as an organization? And how does that leave us feeling as your client, that's using your product, relying on it, and how can we be confident if it feels like your focus is on a different product in your platform?
Yeah, no, when you say command, you're talking about that's the continuum product.
Continuum product,
and they're basically taking over for Automate at this point, right?
Yeah.
Okay, for an RMM. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, and they're like, yeah, this is gonna be this and this. I'm like, what? So again, it was just, I don't know, and that, between that and the billing, that's just kind of, maybe this product is not right for us. And again, not saying it's a bad product, but it's not product is right for my organization of my size and what I'm trying to achieve for my company and my clients.
Yeah, I gotcha. Okay, so let's say that now this decision's made. So we're shopping around. We don't know what we want to go to. We just know we want to go somewhere. Syncro as a company, we've been around a little over 6 years now. But as far as the space is concerned, we're talking about folks that have been in the space for decades. So we're still like the new guy, so to speak. What initially brought Syncro to your attention? And I guess maybe even taking that a step further, what made you initially think that Syncro could be a viable alternative to ConnectWise? Michael, you want to go first?
Sure. So, yep, I was tasked with seeing what was out there. So, you do your couple of Google searches, you start making your list and reaching out and contacting people. I will say that we liked, first of all, the information on your platform was easy to get. I didn't have to go through, but not all bashing ConnectWise, but go look for a ConnectWise product and try to get information. You can't until you sign up for a sales lead. I was able to get a lot of information on Syncro. I was able to go to YouTube and watch your videos. I was able to see workflow. I felt comfortable watching what the information you were putting out there that you wanted everyone to see. Now, I hope you understand, we did our research before we did anything, being burned once by demos. We looked at a couple of your competitors. I took demos for every one of them. The nice thing about Syncro, you guys didn't push me to trial as a demo. Somebody got on the phone with me and actually talked to me first. A couple of your competitors say, sign up for the trial, then let us know when you want to talk. Well, I don't want to spend a week of my time doing that. I have some questions. I want to know what you think,
Yeah.
The reason why I'm doing this today is because I feel as though communication from Syncro was above and beyond everyone else. Just so you know, I have one of your competitors who I still haven't heard back from after asking them for information. So just for the record, you can tell the culture of communication was different from Syncro from the beginning. Every bit of information we needed was answered. When I asked you about your security, your certifications, very quick to reply. I was able to get all of your information quickly. The trial was very flexible. You guys worked with me for when I was going to have the time, and you let me play with it as long as I needed to be sure that I wasn't going to be making another mistake for my company. Again, I looked at everybody. I looked at a lot. Syncro really felt correct. Like I said, everyone in your team was able to get me what I needed to know very, very quickly, and was very, very receptive. And it was just a really great experience. It really almost sold itself.
That's great to hear. It really is. Christopher, I saw you nodding your head. Did you have a similar experience, or did you have anything you want to add to that process?
100%. It's similar. I mean, after when I was like, okay, let's see what's out there. I tried everything from the Terras to super ops to all in large and small, and I was trying to get away from the large because I'd been kind of jaded by the large. And without repeating everything that Michael just said, in my conversations and dealings with Syncro, it just felt right. It felt comfortable. I mean, I didn't feel like I was being sold. I felt like I was talking to a colleague about a product that that could work for my organization. I didn't feel like I was talking to a salesperson. And it from top to bottom, and through the process, it was comfortable. So I even brought in my business partner Myrna, and I said, look, hey, I want you to talk to these people too. Here. And I emailed, I think Jane at the time said, hey, my business partner didn't have an opportunity to sit on the calls with us. Would you mind spending a little time with her? And not a problem. Scheduled around our schedule. And Brendan's like, oh, I think that's the right one. I think we found our tool.
Yeah, that's great to hear, guys. I'm actually going to take this clip and send it off to the sales folks, because they always tried to do that, but like hearing it out of your mouths, I think that's cool. So yeah, they'll be excited to hear that.
Yeah.
Christopher, I'm going to ask this one to you specifically. Let's talk a little bit about the migration process. I know like a lot of MSPs are just petrified over this, and many MSPs simply, relegate themselves to what I'd call the devil they know. They may not be happy, but the other side of the coin is like this big scary unknown. It doesn't have to be, going from ConnectWise to Syncro, because anybody to anybody, it's just a big unknown. Can you speak to like your migration experience moving from ConnectWise to Syncro? And I guess on top of that, what kind of advice would you give to the audience that may be considering, a similar move, but are concerned about the risk or the potential time investments involved in migrating to a new platform like Syncro?
I will say that, without, trying to, toot your horn, but it was a smooth migration. I mean, we asked the questions were answered. We were told, right out the gate, what was going to come from ConnectWise, what wasn't going to come from ConnectWise. Okay, look at, and then, it wasn't everything's going to be fine. And then, halfway through, we're missing data, or we were told, we were told, like, you might want to back these, back this stuff up to a PDF, that way you can have it once you leave ConnectWise, because that's not going to transfer over to Syncro. Beautiful. That's what I need to hear. I need to know what's going to work, what's not going to work. It's okay if it's not going to work, because I need, that way I can prepare for it. So in that process, it was, I mean, it was pretty painless. I mean, because I knew what I was getting into. I was told beforehand, this is what this process is going to look, and everything worked just about how it said it was going to work. And I was told what wasn't going to work, and I was able to prepare for it and grab that data manually from ConnectWise before I left.
Mhm.
Yeah. And Michael, I see you nodding your head. You want to add anything to that?
Well, I do, only because if anyone is larger, I will tell you that the pain point we hit on that had to do with connecting when we were transferring the data. And Chris, I don't know how many tickets you brought over. We had an issue where we had too many tickets, and the MySQL database was set to only allow so many hits at a time, right, on the ConnectWise side. So we had some difficulties. We had a massage with that API key to get all the stuff brought over. I'm laughing a little because, Chris, you were talking about the alerts. We had to delete 786,000 alerts tickets from ConnectWise so that we could have a smooth transition. Because once we got rid of the tickets that we no longer needed, we had absolutely no problem migrating everything over to Syncro. I will tell you that your Andy, your engineers are great. The engineer that was helping us spent a lot of time talking to me. We dug through all the possible problems. We dug through error messages until we realized that it had to do with the amount of data. And again, they really paid attention when I told them what I found and what I was looking at.
Yeah.
I never felt like it was my problem that my data wasn't going over. I felt like they were truly, truly interested and engaged. And then he was excited when I figured out that it was the actual numbers. And once I started telling him the new numbers that I was looking to transfer, we kind of geeked out over the amount of files and what we were able to accomplish.
Yeah.
And again, I felt like Syncro was my partner in this, and it was a really good feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I know Christopher was talking about noise, but 786,000 alerts, that feels like some noise right there. We're
It's a
definitely going to
lot.
have to talk about that afterwards. So
It just kills you. It kills
yeah.
you.
Yeah, it doesn't. You wake up in the morning and you look, and it's like, you really need to prepare yourself for it, because I mean, to start to filter through it, and you're looking through all of this, and it's like, I thought I turned that one off, and and you missed a button, like why it's still getting active, and it's daunting.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
remember
and
that
It's like
from,
the neighbor's dog that never stops barking, ever.
I was just going to
Ever.
say, yeah, same thing. It's like it winds up being the boy that cried wolf, where it's like, it's probably fine. It's probably noise, until the one
yeah,
time it's not. And you're like, I should have checked it.
yeah, and you start, you start mass deleting at some point. You're just like, you're like,
Yeah, right.
because
Yeah.
yeah, and then you miss that one that's critical.
Yep. Gotcha. All right. So let's talk about Syncro for a minute. So both of you have been on for Syncro at least long enough to fully understand the platforms, the good, the bad, the quirks, everything that is Syncro. What are your favorite aspects of Syncro to date, and how have those impacted your business? And I think I'd also like to know, how those aspects of Syncro might contrast with similar feature sets over on ConnectWise. Michael, why don't you go ahead and start on that one?
Sure. Something else I probably should mention, one other reason why we were looking to move out of ConnectWise, we didn't use the sales side or the PO side. There were a lot of tools that ConnectWise has that we found unnecessary. We had either other tools we were using or our processes were different. And we always felt like we were paying for a whole lot of things that we were never going to use. And as prices went up, it was something we just decided was too much. Having said that, Syncro is a true single pane of glass. I open up a web browser. I have one web browser that I dedicate to Syncro. I can open up the tabs very quickly. It's a very intuitive navigation. It's very easy to switch pages or add tabs, because we've been doing this for the last 20 years, all of us in IT. Uh, I will tell you that the RMM system, again, I find to be very intuitive, very easy to work with. The onboarding for us, I would say, setting up Syncro only took a few days. It took no time at all to match what we actually wanted. Very, everything is exactly where you expect it to be. Uh, a lot of what an IT company needs is placed in drop downs. Anything that isn't in a drop down, most of it has the ability to simply take the uh, the database identifier, right? Like when you're sending, when you want to customize your emails for thank you for putting in a ticket or your ticket's been assigned. It Syncro gives you a page that you can edit to your heart's content with an entire list of things you could put in there. You don't have to guess. You don't have to go looking for it. It's just copy and paste. Everything is intuitive and helpful and easy to use and right at your fingertips. Uh, I I am very happy working with Syncro and the customizing, the ability to customize the ticket, the boards, the use of hashtags, a very easy way to sort things. And again, everything is exceptionally intuitive. It feels as though it's a modern take on the IT setup, on a PSA and an RMM, because this is the same thing we use every day, right? I mean, I know I'm a little bit old, I got a little gray here, but even I use hashtags,
You and me
right?
both. I don't know if what side I'm on here, but yeah.
It's just a very natural, easy to use, intuitive system that does everything we had with the PSA and with the RMM. Again, one single pane of glass. Um, Something with ConnectWise that I wish we had better of was the connection of the two. If I open an asset, I could get right to the RMM. If I'm in the RMM, I can get right to the asset. I could jump right to the customer. I could jump right to the user. Everything is interconnected correctly and in a easy to use fashion. And I really appreciate the use of it without having to jump back and forth and use more resources. Now, I don't find it to be resource heavy, which is also a big plus.
Yeah. Christopher?
Sorry, Chris. Sorry.
I feel
No.
bad going second
no,
after that
no.
one.
Yeah, it's yeah, I second everything you said. No, again, yeah, it's intuitive. Everything that we get here is what I was promised in ConnectWise. You know, I can be in chat, and a chat function that actually works, mind you. You know, a
Amen.
chat function that works really well for me and my clients. And then while I'm in chat, and then I can go right to the endpoint, or I can go right to the company and I can add a note, and everything's tied together. It works. It just works. And you can't knock it when it works. You know, and there was something else, and it kind of, I got so wrapped up in Michael. There was something else to say, but if it comes back to me, but again, it's just, you know, everything, it just works, and it's simple. And for a company my size, you know, we're like, again, we're on the smaller side, you know, it's perfect. You know, it does everything I need it to do. It's an extension of myself and my team. I'm not working on it to make it work for me. You know, it's and I'm excited to see where it's, you know, because I know this is not it. It's gonna, you know, Syncro is going to continue to grow and add more features and develop over time. So if it's great now, it's just going to get better.
You know,
Yeah,
Andy, if I could
yeah,
throw
go
one
ahead.
more thing out, because I'm going to hear about it. Let me tell you about my boss's favorite thing, your dashboard. So, Chris, you know, we have our right beyond me are all the desks, and right up on the wall is a big 40-inch TV with the dashboard. You don't New tickets. We have it all customized, color coded. Every time a customer responds to a ticket, it pops up on the screen. So, you know, if somebody's stuck on a phone, everyone can see what's happening at the same time. It's very easy for the entire team to just have that in the peripheral. And it's something that we kind of always wanted, right? And you don't have to buy an additional license for it. It's something that is just built into Syncro, and it's a really nice add-on that we appreciate and we use every single day. It really helps us day to day to kind of see what's happening in the moment when we're all really focused on this computer, just so that we know when customers are waiting.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
funny, Michael. You can tell that you've obviously been in the space for a long time because before COVID, really technicians weren't remote, and every office you would go into always has the big giant dashboard. And now that everybody's
Yep.
remote, like when you hear that, you're like, oh yeah, that still happens at these large companies. Yeah, it's interesting the way the world has changed, but you can always tell when somebody
Yeah.
mentions the dashboard how long they've been in business for.
Yeah.
But see, to my point, that shows you that Syncro really understands what they're building for, right?
Yeah, 100%.
You didn't hire a bunch of high-end programmers who maybe have never worked with people or worked with customers, or maybe programmers who haven't worked with a workflow like IT. Syncro feels like it was built for the MSP. It has these cute little tweaks that really help us, and we appreciate. And again, to be fair, we don't need to ask for another license, or how much is that going to cost, right? You gave us a really easy to use, smooth tool. Again, cute little tools, cute little add-ons that we appreciate. And it's obvious it was built with this in mind.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear, guys. Christopher, you mentioned something I wanted to tap into. You said we're working in Syncro, but we're not working on it. And it reminded me of what you both said prior when you were like, okay, at ConnectWise, whenever we wanted to change flows or do things, we had to like dedicate time. It almost sounds like it was a static amount of time that was always devoted to like managing the product. How has that translated over Syncro? Like how much time are you or any of your techs managing Syncro today?
I'm not managing Syncro. I mean, it's, it's a matter of, if I'm using a feature or want to look for something that's not there, I run across the dashboard, or I look at the drop downs, I look down the menu. Okay, here it is. Click in, find it, and I may be spending, 30 minutes, if I'm looking for a product or in the app store, or looking something I would want to add on to it. It's simple. Whereas before it was, okay, who's going to work? We need to deploy a script. Who's going to work on it? And let's see if it works. So it's that. I've saved, an employee, by in this transition. I've gained an employee in Syncro. Because basically it works for me.
Yeah, I got to be honest. Out of everything I could hear in this whole webinar, that's the kind of stuff that really hits us directly at Syncro when we hear someone saying, "You saved me an employee." There's nothing better than that. I mean, that's a big deal. Yeah, Michael, you want to add anything to that?
I completely agree with Chris. I probably would spend a couple of hours a week on ConnectWise. For us, it was a lot of little errors. It was the little things that would go wrong, or something that wouldn't quite connect. The only time we're really putting into Syncro is our fun time, right? So we're always looking at better ways to run metrics. The only time we're spending right now is on your report builder, which is, again, intuitive, easy to use, and a whole lot of fun because you give us all the little titles that we can copy and paste over. And that's what we're doing a lot of. For the most part, that's really all we're ever really updating. Once we got kicked off and started, everything worked the way we wanted it to. After the initial onboarding, I don't believe we've done any real tweaking at all. And you've really, maybe don't tell my boss, but you've probably gave me back 2 hours a day.
Never heard it. I don't know what was said. Yeah, this is not recorded.
I'm sure she'll watch this later. I'll hear about it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll have to send me one of your. I did the design for the report builder, so definitely send me some of the stuff you built. I would love to see it.
Now you stepped in it. You're in trouble now, pal.
All right, we'll take that one. We'll take that one offline. And guys, I have just one last question. This is kind of an interesting one. Because I was just on a call with a decent sized team looking to move off ConnectWise for basically a lot of the same reasons that we're talking about here. And he said he was going to be in attendance today. So John, if you're here, this is the question that I told you I'd ask on your behalf. And he basically wanted me to ask, having done this already, and Michael, why don't you take this one? If you knew what you knew now back then, like when you're just starting this migration process, would you have done anything differently, or would you have done it exactly the same? Or was there anything that you'd be like, you know what, I really wish I did X. It would have saved me time, for folks that, are on the fence with the decision right now?
I would not have done a single thing different.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. I, you know, everyone here will understand when you're feeling that time crunch because you're trying to get your full-time job done, and you're also trying to interview and trial and demo new devices, new tools, new everything. So that stress that comes with this, and I'm sure that's what, like you said, the devil, right? A lot of people are saying, oh my God, there's no possible way I could do this. There's no possible way I could spend the next 3 months moving off of ConnectWise. And I that was my initial panic. But working with your teams, and now that I've done it all and I see that it really was as simple as they said it was, I really can't imagine doing anything. That maybe I would have done it sooner. But no, very happy with the way everything worked, very happy with the way everything went. I really can't imagine having done anything different going up to this point.
Yeah. Okay. Christopher, I see you're nodding your head. Is it generally same
Yeah,
consensus?
same. Yeah, yeah. Again, maybe pull the trigger sooner. And that's it. It works. Don't be afraid. I think when we're in these larger products, which again, they're not bad products, but they are. It's cumbersome, and with the challenges that you're facing when you're in them, and the issues you've had, you're afraid that when you go to the next platform, that's what you're going to get. But that's not what we've gotten. We've, everything Michael said, I basically, I've nodded my head to, because it's true. The help along the way, ask the questions of the Syncro team. They're going to give you the answers. And if somebody doesn't know the answer, they get to somebody right away that does know the answer. And you feel confident in what you're hearing, and you feel confident in the process. And that's what it was. It was a smooth as can be transition. Nothing is without its quirks, but it was as smooth as can be. And we're here now. And again, it works. So for those out there that are struggling, like, what's it going to be like? The grass is greener on the other side. It really is.
Yeah. So thanks, guys. All right, John. So I hope that answers your question. I think what we'll do now is we'll open the floor for Q&A from the audience. Are you both down for that?
Yep.
Sure.
Okay. And for folks asking questions, there's some in the queue now. If like your size of your MSP is closer to Christopher's or Michael's, and you want to have one of them specifically answer the question, just make sure to include that in the question that you type up. All right. So let's see here. First one, either of you can answer this, or both of you. At a high level, in your experience, this is a good question. What are the main trade-offs between both platforms? Because I have no doubt there's going to be things that ConnectWise may have done better. Certainly things Syncro does better. What's your take on that specifically?
There were some of the monitoring tools in the RMM side, ConnectWise, that gave us a little bit more data on our endpoints than we're getting now. But so that was a little trade-off. But there was one feature I really liked in control, where I can use the client's phone to look on site when I was remote. I actually use that a lot of times, where I can, because they're trying to explain something to me, and I'm like, or I'm trying to explain something to them, they have no idea what I'm talking about. Like, here, let me log into your phone, face it to this. Okay, that's what we're looking at. Okay, now I know what's going on. That was a great feature, and but again, it's small trade-offs, for huge gain in other areas.
Yep. Michael, what trade-offs did you feel that you had to make, either positively or negatively?
Well, since I know the bosses at Syncro are going to be watching this, let me double down on Chris's phone camera, because that was a big plus. That really did help a lot. But so one of the only things that we found awkward, right? And that's really all it was. It wasn't a struggle, it was awkward. The benefit of having so many drop downs in Syncro that were built for our business is that some of the timing isn't as granular. Some of the alerts have times that aren't as convenient, right? So for example, and Chris, I'm sure you've seen it, right? A bunch of the alerts have 2 hour, 6 hour, 12 hour,
Yeah.
right? When you do the drop downs. And uh, I know this is very granular, so I apologize, but these are the tiny differences that are very easy to get past. If you're using 90% memory more than X amount of time, right? So because ConnectWise was more granular, you would just put in the amount of seconds. In almost all the alerts, you could customize the amount of seconds.
Yeah.
Syncro has drop downs with preset times. Again, I'm nitpicking. I don't get me wrong. Syncro as a tool is as powerful as ConnectWise. I'm just nitpicking about some of the granular things that
Yeah.
maybe we miss.
Exactly.
But I would say from a high standpoint, I I don't think I don't think we lost anything. Like Chris said, the chat functions are fabulous. Everything connects through the email, the ticketing, the customization. You have a lot of customization, which I find to be easier. I don't think that I necessarily have a trade-off
Okay.
other than the camera thing.
Well, I'm gonna, like I said, the product team is definitely gonna be watching this recording too. So all the little nitpicks, we want everything to be as good as you want it to be. So we're gonna see about tackling those things. All right, next question. What is your experience working with Syncro's sales and/or support team versus ConnectWise? I think you guys answered this one a little bit. Is there anything you wanted to add specifically about the sales or support team that you haven't mentioned already?
I would. Your sales team was phenomenal, even during the demo period. I'll tell you, I set up the demo, I had some meetings, set up a trial, then said, all right, now it's time to bring the CEO in. I want you guys to demo for her. Your sales team brought in their next level salespeople to talk at a higher level with my CEO without me asking. There was no doubt in their mind that they wanted to include higher level people who made time for us, made time to respond to questions, and really communicated with us. Again, everyone at every level of Syncro has been fantastic. Your support team, one of the biggest problems I had with ConnectWise, again, was them not respecting our knowledge, right? What we were bringing to the support. As IT people, we've already tried all the basics before we've called in. When we call in, it's because it's something above and beyond. And their first level support was abysmal. When I talked to your support team, again, they were like, for example, Microsoft had made a security change at one point a couple of months ago, right after we came on, that actually caused some problem with your Syncro email. We found the issue. We called in. Your guys were so excited to talk with us about what we could do. I'm fairly certain they updated your knowledge database with it. But again, your support team is interested and they want to know what's happening with us. And they talk with us about the problem. They don't read from a script. And I really just feel like that personal level of service is just beyond so much support right now in the world.
Yeah, well, that's great to hear. It really is. Chris, you want to add anything to that, or
Everything he said.
That's fine. I know we spoke to that a little bit prior.
You know what?
So
just keep going to Chris first. It's just
no. But it's the same thing. It's the support and sales. I felt like we were talking to a colleague, a teammate, not somebody that was, again, reading from a script or somebody that was giving us a sales pitch. It was comfortable. And that's something that you don't get a lot in this business. It was just like having a, chat at the bar over a drink. That's what it felt like. And it gave me confidence and comfort in it. So to be able to, especially when you're coming from a challenging situation, to be able to have that like reassurance. And then as the process went along, it didn't change. Every person that we spoke to, I got that same feeling from. So kudos to your organization and your hiring team, because you're picking the right people and putting the right people in the right places that, that are supporting us, and they're continuing to do it on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's really good to hear you guys say that, because I had an MSP for this is going back a ways, for about 6 years, a pretty big MSP, and I always remember that anytime I'd ask any of the techs to go vet a new platform, it was always like, my name is Bob Smith and my phone number is 555. I just want to trial your process. You know what I mean? It was like the sales aspects of everything were always so like like heavy handed and you get calls every day and all that stuff. And so, yeah, no, we take that feedback very seriously. So I'm glad that that was both of your experiences with Syncro. I'm going to chop this next question. They're asking, how satisfied are your existing customers with the platform's performance and reliability? They asked support services already, but I think we've got that part of it down. Chris, you want to go first on that one?
I'm sorry. The first part was how our clients.
Yeah, they're basically talking about what you think about the platform's performance and reliability from that aspect.
Again, I can't complain about it. From our end to our client's ability to to utilize a functional client portal to get information on tickets, ongoing tickets for us to be able to relay. I think it's been seamless. I can't complain about it.
And Michael, same from you, performance and reliability?
Yeah, and something I saw a question hang on by. So we personally, we're not using your quote. We're not currently using the quoting and the invoice system. Or we had a system that was already in place, which is again one of the reasons why we went to Syncro, was to pare down away from the unused portions. Switching our clients over to your portal so they could follow along with their tickets, which works tremendously better. A big thing for us in IT is your portal has MFA. I don't know if most people realize this, but ConnectWise's portal does not have the ability to MFA, which is unfathomable for me. And also the ability to allow clients to remote to computers. We do have a number of those that were using that service. And again, the transition was very simple, very easy, and it was intuitive for our clients. So I was able to take a couple of screenshots and say, hey, listen, we're upgrading the security. I'm going to send you a new link. When you sign in with your MFA, just look right here for your computer. And that was it. Everything else was hands off. It was even intuitive for our clients who are not very computer literate.
Okay. Yeah, great. I think I'm going to take one more question. I know we're about 6-7 minutes here from the end. And I think I like this question. I'm going to add something onto it. They're asking, how has your team adapted going from ConnectWise to Syncro? And I do want to piggyback on that and kind of ask if there's any specific elements of your team that seem to adopt it better, or maybe even struggle with it. Like different tiers of techs. Like I know sometimes tier 1 techs handle things differently than tier 3 techs, or like your dispatch people, billing admins, stuff like that. How did all those different elements of your business fare after the migration? Chris, you want to start?
Yeah. So I've always been in our organization. I've always been the tech guy. Myrna was our sales and billing and the back end, and so every time in the old systems, like I needed a quote created. I need this invoiced. I need this, and I stayed away from it, mainly because I couldn't navigate around it. Since being in Syncro, it's like it's so, again, using a word that might be intuitive. When I use the invoice, create a quote. It's I've even had my web media guy, and he needed a quote for a client. I was unavailable. I'm like, just go in there. You'll be able to muddle your way through. You can't screw it up. Just follow the drop downs, put in the numbers, and then send it to me, and I'll review it, and then go. That's how easy it is. To be able to go from a guy that doesn't play around in that end to, I'm confident in using it, in creating quotes, sending out invoices through it. It's simple, it's intuitive, and again, for somebody that doesn't play around in it, to be able to you confidently tell another employee, just go in there and look at it, you'll be able to figure it out, using basic common sense and logic. That's how it was for us.
And Michael, I know your team is very, very large. What about you? I know you have a lot more aspects to like different elements of your business, especially like you said, you're specializing in some unique verticals. Did you experience any issues, or any elements of your team experience issues there?
No issues at all. Matter of fact, quite the opposite. Our guys took it on as a fun new experience. We trained by connecting the dots, right? Everything is muscle memory when you're typing on a ticket while you're talking to a customer. Everyone found it very, very easy to maneuver through. Again, back to intuitive. Your ticket creation is intuitive. Being able to, if anything, you gave us too many options, right? Because ConnectWise has a public and a private, and everything goes to email. You guys have an email, a public, and a private, with all these really cool drop downs with every option of each one in there. you change the workflow to a much more intuitive workflow and a single pane kind of workflow that made things a lot easier for them. I was I would probably say that my guys took a day. I think
Wow,
we
okay.
watched a few videos. I did a few examples of the tickets because I had used it the most for during the trial and during the setup. Um, Once they saw how easy it was and the order of everything, which again is very intuitive, I don't believe I've gotten a question since. And they love playing with your ticket board. There's grouping and they're this and they're that, and they all customized it in some kind of wild, crazy way. They absolutely love it. We've had nothing but good experiences with it.
Well, great. Listen, guys, I know we're coming up on time. I just wanted to thank you both for the great discussion, and thanks everybody in attendance for joining. I think this is really going to help a lot of MSPs when they're up against, making a decision like you all had to make. Migrating platforms is never fun. It's just not, which is why, making an informed decision on where to go next is just so critically important. And, I firmly believe, and especially after listening to you both today, that the question should never really be what's the most powerful platform out there, period. The question should really be, what platform is right for my specific business needs? Because the answer to those two questions, it's rarely the same thing. So for folks on the call who aren't very familiar with Syncro, I just wanted to reiterate some of our key differentiators, many of which Christopher and Michael have already gone over. First, we're a combined RMM, PSA, and remote access platform under one roof, one database, one login, one platform. That includes things like asset management, scripting, alerting, ticketing, invoicing, payments, reporting, you name it. We have everything that you need to effectively run and grow your business. And that includes over 50 third-party integrations as well to platforms like Pax8 to dynamically invoice your various licenses, IT Glue or Hoodoo for your documentation, and ScalePad, for your warranties if you're tracking those. So most importantly, and I think I want to kind of summarize as something that you guys kept saying about how it was intuitive and it made sense. We pride ourselves on being a platform that we feel was built for MSPs by MSPs, which means we not only want to build what we wanted to see when we were in business, but we also want to ensure that customers are treated the way that we expected to be treated when we were in business as well. And that means, no contracts. It means no forced onboarding fees. It means a pricing model that is both public and transparent, and also a per technician pricing model, which awards you an unlimited amount of endpoints for no additional cost. We fundamentally believe that we have to earn your business every single month, and that's what we do every single month. Now, I know we hosted a webinar last week with our Chief Product Officer, D. Zepp, where we shared a deeper view into our 2024 roadmap. So for anyone who wants to know what to expect to see out of Syncro going forward, you can view that on demand, and we'll be adding a link to that in the Zoom chat. I see it's there already. And you can also find a direct link to our public roadmap right on our website at syncromsp.com. And for anybody who wants to spin up a free trial or receive a personalized consultation, we've launched a poll here, which should have popped up for everybody in Zoom, where you can indicate that, and we'll reach out to you guys right away with any questions that you have. We've also pasted links in chat, so if y'all want to get started with a free trial or schedule a demo all on your own, you guys can set that up as well. And then lastly, I promised everybody a promotion for those in attendance, so here it is. We're offering anyone attending this webinar 6 months of Syncro for free. We completely understand a lot of you are very interested in potentially migrating off of ConnectWise, but you're locked into a contract for the next 3 or 6 months. This was designed to help you offset that, so you no longer have to wait to begin that migration to Syncro. So in that same poll, there's also a box you can check if you'd like to learn more about that promotion. Just check that box and somebody will be reaching out to you as well. So Michael, Christopher, thanks again. I can't thank you all enough. I know how busy your days are to spend an hour with us. Super cool of y'all. Thank you everybody for joining us today. And whatever platform y'all call home, I wish everybody nothing but growth and continued success, especially to you two. So thanks
Thank you
everybody
very
for
much.
joining.
Thank you.
Take care.
Have a good day.